Hello, everyone, and welcome to our first podcast edition of So What You Saying. This is going to be a bit more free-flowing compared to the previous videos we've done. Me and Sean are just going to shoot the breeze for the next 90 minutes or so. We've got a few topics that we're going to touch upon, give our thoughts on that, and if any of you would like to add or comment about anything we're talking about in this podcast, feel free to leave it in the comment section. So, Sean, you ready to get into it?
Yeah, man. Yeah, good to be back. Thanks to Harry for stepping in last time for the Resident Evil video. Looks like you guys had a lot of fun there. So
Yeah,
nice.
yeah.
Yeah, good to be back.
Good to have you back. So, I thought it would be a good place to start off by talking about Iron Maiden,
Hmm.
considering they're one of our favorite bands of all time. They've recently I think they've already done two shows. They've kicked off their Run for Your Lives tour,
Yeah,
and they've done two shows both in Budapest over the last week or so.
yeah.
And I just wanted to get your. Obviously, a lot of footage is circulated online. There's a lot riding on this tour. Of course, this is the first time they've been without Nico McBrain behind the kit since, what, 1982? So a very, very long time. So I'd like to get to know your thoughts on their new drummer, Simon Dawson. And I want to know what you feel about the set list they've chosen, because my initial reaction was because we were messaging each other as they were, posting each song as they were playing it live. They were posting it, they would upload it to their Instagram page and all over their social media. So it was like a live update as the show went on.
Mm.
And I feel like me and you went from being incredibly excited to a little bit, oh, I
Mm.
don't think they quite stuck the landing on that one. But I'm interested to know your thoughts because we haven't spoke about it at length yet.
Yeah.
But what are your first initial thoughts on from the footage you've seen so far?
I think he looks pretty good. I'm definitely with you. I remember when we were going through the set list as it was being released, and spoiler alert, when the Ides of March came up, and obviously it's the tape version, they're not playing it, but I was like, okay. And then Murders in the Rue Morgue came up, and I was like, oh, okay, they're like really showing definitely showing the early days some love. So part of me was like thinking, oh, maybe this is going to be a kind of like an early days part two tour, like they did back in 2005, I believe it was.
Yeah, that was the one Maiden tour. I was gutted I didn't
Yeah.
see them. That was an amazing set list. They're
Oh,
playing songs from just the first four albums. I
yeah,
mean, that's like the Maiden set list for me.
yeah. So I mean, I was intrigued to begin with. Just going back a little bit because obviously they just finished. Well, I say just finished a few months from the Future Past tour, which I thought was awesome. I thought the set list to that was great. Obviously,
Mhm.
it was a matter of showing Summer in Time some love and Senjutsu. I thought they got the balance to that really well, and especially
Yeah.
playing under the great live for the first time on that tour was like fair play to you. Incredible set list, incredible show.
I had convinced myself that they were never going to play that song live.
Yeah,
So it was a pleasant surprise to
yeah.
see to finally see them announce it and,
Yeah,
and
it was almost
perform
like
it
me.
live.
Like every time they announced the tour, be like, is Alexander the Great going to be played? No,
No.
no, no, never in a million years. So
Yeah.
think, okay, so they do have it in them to play something they've never played before. So I was like,
Mm-mm.
okay, maybe they'll come out with a few deep cuts for this one. And then with the promotion for it, they were saying, oh, it's going to be from the first nine albums, spanning from the first one to Fear of the Dark.
Hmm.
Interesting use of language there. If you look back on it in hindsight, they didn't technically say they would play a song from every one of those albums, but I digress.
I wasn't expecting them to play anything from No Prayer for the Dying.
No, I was kind of hoping not either.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah, and so then I was getting sort of excited about well, what they're going to release for this one. You know, it's the 50th anniversary celebration, so they're going to pull out some stops. Bruce was saying, "Oh, we're going to do things we've never done before on this tour," like he says every bloody tour.
hmm
And yeah, so then when they were releasing the set list, it was like, right, Murders in the Room or Wrathchild, Killers, which they haven't played since 1999. And me and you were just like, oh my God, are they really doing this? Are they
We
really?
were joking, like Simon Dawson turned around to them and said, "Only know songs from the first two albums."
Yeah, yeah, cut me some slack here.
Yeah.
And so up until that point, it was like, yeah, oh my God, they're really going for it now. And then Number of the Beast, I was like, okay, they didn't
No,
play
you,
it.
you missed Phantom of the Opera. Then they
Oh,
played
yes.
Phantom of the
Yeah,
Opera. Yeah.
yeah, Phantom of the Opera. So, I mean, that's probably my favourite song from the first album anyway.
Hmm.
I've seen them play that. We saw them play that back on that Made in England
Yeah.
terrible show,
Yeah.
which might not have been their fault. It was partly to do like the sound that
Oh,
downloads.
they had terrible sound at that
Yeah,
festival. Just
uh,
ruined the entire experience.
exactly. So I thought, okay, glad that I'll get. You know, I'm glad I get to see that again. Hopefully under better conditions. So then you had that, and then it's Number of the Beast, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought, okay, well, I like that song. They haven't played it since the Legacy of the Beast tour. Fair enough. They didn't give it a play on the last tour. I really should have the set list in front of
Well, funnily enough, I've actually got it right here in front of me. I created a Spotify playlist
me. Oh, right, yeah.
of the set list. So why don't we just go through it song by song, and then we can sort of comment on each one. So,
Okay.
Ides of March is the intro tape. I'm not complaining about that.
No.
Murders in the Rue Morgue. I mean, as a huge fan of Beast over Hammersmith, my probably my
Yeah.
favorite live album. It's amazing to see them opening with that song again. One of my favorite songs from Killers.
Yeah.
Wrathchild, even though I really like this song, it's always great when I see them play it live.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me thinks they could have swapped that out for something like Be Quick or Be Dead. You know, it's a similar length. It's another song from Fear of the Dark. I know that was a song that a lot of people were kind of hoping they would play live as well. I honestly can't remember the last time they played. It may have been on the Fear of the Dark tour. I could be wrong on that one.
Real live one, was it?
Something like that, or Live at Donington 1993. You'd have to go back away. Killers, ain't complaining about Killers. Absolutely love that song. My favorite song from the Killers album.
Yeah.
Phantom of the Opera, not complaining about that. Love that song.
Yeah.
The Number of the Beast is a song that, I mean, live, it's a great experience. Um, I think we should just explain to everybody, like, we've seen Iron Maiden so many times. This will be our 11th time seeing them.
Yeah, something like that.
We've seen them on
Yeah.
this tour, so
Yeah.
we've seen a lot of these songs that they're playing performed live many times before. So we're sort of a little bit fatigued of listening to them, not just of the studio version, but even watching them perform live. But Number of the Beast, I can somewhat live with being in the set. It is amazing seeing it
Quite
live.
early on as well in the set, which I was.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's an interesting placement for that one. Then they played the Clairvoyant. Now, I love the Clairvoyant. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son is my favorite Maiden album, and I love more or less all the songs on that album.
Yeah.
But I really wish they played Infinite Dreams.
Yeah.
They released a book recently called Infinite Dreams.
Yeah,
They've
exactly.
been teasing that song quite a lot as well.
Hmm.
So I was somewhat expecting it to be in the set.
Yeah.
And the fact that it wasn't, and you get something like The Clairvoyant instead, which is a good song, but
Oh, yeah.
honestly, if they played Infinite Dreams live, I pretty much would have seen every Iron Maiden song I wanted to see live by that point,
Yeah.
because that is my favorite all-time Iron Maiden song. So Clairvoyant, I can live with it, but I wish they uh, drew from another deep cut.
I mean, it's been a while since we've seen it. I think the last time they played it was the Somewhere Back in Time tour, wasn't it?
Something like that. I mean, it is a while since they played it.
Yeah.
If funny enough, that doesn't feel that long ago for me, but it was all the way back in 2009. It just feels like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Then they played Power Slave. No problem with that. Absolutely love the song Power Slave. Then they played 2 Minutes to Midnight. Now, I did kind of roll my eyes a little bit when I heard the intro riff to this song. I've seen this song live so many times.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, why did you play this and not something like Die With Your Boots On?
Uh,
Something along those lines. Um,
or Still
I
Life.
say that again.
Or Still Life.
Or Still Life, yeah, just anything but 2 Minutes to Midnight again. Then they played Rime of the Ancient Mariner. Got no problem with that. Run to the Hills, I guess, kind of has to be in the set due to the name of the tour. The tour is called the Run for Your Lives tour, so I understand Run to the Hills being in there. I mean, and then they follow that up with Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. The fact you've got Phantom of the Opera, Rime of the Ancient Mariner, and Seventh Son of a Seventh Son in the same set list is
Yeah.
crazy to
That's
me.
bonkers.
I
Absolutely.
mean, I just couldn't believe it when they started playing that song.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, my favorite Maiden epic, absolutely thrilled they're playing it because, like you said, the last time, this isn't the first time we've seen them perform this song live. The last time was when it was on the Maiden England tour. We
Yeah.
saw them at Download and the sound was just terrible.
Yeah.
And it just sounded awful. Then they played the Trooper, got no problem with the Trooper being in the set. Hallowed be thy name, got no problem with that. Then they play Iron Maiden. Now, I've never been a huge fan of this song. I don't know about you. I get
Uh,
why they play it at every gig because it is like their anthem, the Iron Maiden song, if you will.
yeah.
Say that again?
it's the name of the band, so I'll let him off for that.
Yeah, exactly. And now this is where I think they sort of really missed the mark a little bit. So Fear of the Dark. So the encore is Aces High, Fear of the Dark, and Wasted Years. Fear of the Dark, I understand that's a set staple. That's going to stay in. I know it's difficult to, it would be just difficult to convince them not to play it. But Aces High, frankly, I would have swapped that out for something else.
Mm-hmm.
And Wasted Years and the fact that they're closing with it again. I mean, the last time we saw them live, they ended with Wasted Years. It's a song I am so bored to death of listening to now, not just on an album but live. And the fact they're closing with it again
Yeah,
left me a little bit disappointed. What
yeah,
do you
I'm
think?
surprised. I honestly thought for this particular show and this particular theme of it being the 50th anniversary, they close with something like, okay, we've seen this before as well, but running free or
Yeah,
sanction,
yeah,
something to sort of something to sort of bookmark their legacy with. Do you know what I mean? And I don't know, maybe it's something, maybe Adrian Smith insists on playing it at every show now. I don't know what the sort of politics are behind the scenes. I thought it was made sense to have it on the previous tour because it's obviously
mhm,
part somewhere in time. And but I'm pretty sure they've played it now for the last 2 or 3 tours. Like they played it on the Legacy of Beast tour, I'm pretty sure, and the Book of Souls tour before then. So
mm.
I could be wrong about the Book of Souls actually, but definitely the last two tours, I'm pretty sure they played it.
Feel like every time I've seen Maiden, they've played this song.
Yeah, yeah, at least like the majority of it anyway. So,
Hmm.
like I said to you at the time, I'm just that encore just feels really. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
The main set list itself, like the first 14 songs, other than a few nitpicks here and there, I think it's a great set list. I think you're going to have a good time start to finish with that.
Yeah, if this is your first Maiden gig, I
Yeah.
mean, you've got the mother load of the set list right
Mm.
here. Like, it's
Yeah.
a crazy set list. I mean, the first time me and Sean saw Maiden, they played all of A Matter of Life and Death live with a few classics as the encore. And obviously, we ended up loving the show, but leading
Yeah.
into it, we weren't hyped for it at all.
Yeah.
If that was our first set list,
Yeah.
oh my God, I would have passed out. I wouldn't have been able to handle it.
Yeah. Yeah. To me, this feels less like the 50th anniversary and more like somewhere back in time part two. Like it's got similar hallmarks, similar songs have been played on it. I also don't get why they've put Aces High so late in the set because it's hard. It's a hard song anyway for Bruce.
Another song I couldn't care less if I never
No,
hear live
but the
again.
fact that like they've put it as the encore so late on after he's done all that work, it's a bit like is Steve trying to wind him up or what? Like it's yeah, I can understand opening the whole show with it, which they did for Summer Back in Time. I thought that made sense, but to open it as the encore, I don't know. It feels weird being so late on. It feels more like an early show song to me, and yeah. So overall, I'm still looking forward to the show. I think it will be
Mm.
really good production wise. The only other thing that I'm not sure that I like, but obviously will have to be there in person, is the fact that there's no physical backdrop, Eddie. It's that big
It's
electronic,
it's it's
like,
all it's all digital screens now, isn't
yeah,
it?
which I don't know. Part of me feels like it's a bit of a cop out. Like they're just now, oh no, we
Yeah,
can screen
I,
now.
I know what you mean. I mean, personally, I don't have a huge problem with it. I mean, a lot of it looked visually very impressive, but
Yeah,
there's no like blow up Eddie anymore. It's all digital now. I mean, they still have the walk on Eddie, but
yeah,
when they had like when it was sort of like big, massive curtains or
yeah,
sheets that they would pull in and out, it gave it a much more theatrical vibe, which sort
yeah,
of made Maiden stand out a little bit more compared to some of the other big theatrical bands you would see live, like Kiss and Rammstein, for example.
yeah,
But I can kind of get why they have changed it up. I think it gives them a lot more freedom to more or less have what they want in the background. They
yeah,
were sort of transitioning to that off the previous tour, where it was sort of like half of it was digital, half of it was, you know, the traditional backdrops that they would bring with them.
yeah,
So I'm sure live it will be great.
yeah.
But I can understand why people are a little bit disappointed. You know, they've kind of lost a little bit of that uniqueness that they may
Mm.
have had before, but I'm not going to lose sleep over it.
Yeah, no, I mean, there are some bits to it as well that look really clever, like in "Hello Be Thy Name," where you see like where Bruce starts off in the cage and then he ends up being like he's running up like the hills, as it were, up to like, to escape the Reaper, and it's obviously a digital version of him, but he's wearing the
Mm.
same clothes that he's wearing on stage. So I thought something like that's pretty cool. I guess I'm just a bit of a traditionalist. I like my backdrop Eddie like done properly, but like we say, I think it'll come off fine, especially in London Stadium where it's going to be massive. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so yeah, overall, I'm still looking forward to it, and I think, like I say, the main set is going to be really great. I don't really care about the encore to be honest. I don't, maybe in the moment, like I know before the Future Past tour, when they, it was like, oh, can I play with Madness? Yeah. But then it ended up being like the best song of the night, or one of them, like Let
Yeah,
Him
yeah.
Feel. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm still really looking forward to the show.
Are you
Yeah,
concerned at all that it's an outdoor show? I've always felt Maiden sound way better indoors than they do outdoors.
yeah, maybe. I mean, it's been a while since I've seen them outdoors, so I
Mm.
don't know. Maybe they've managed to sort that out over the years.
I
Obviously,
suppose you can make that argument for any band, though, to be fair.
yeah. I mean, we're used to seeing them more often than not in the O2 Arena. So
Hmm.
I think I don't know if the London Stadium has a closable roof or not. I've never been. So, but even so, I don't think it's quite as big as. I could be wrong. I don't think it's quite as big as Twickenham, so it might not be quite as like the sound might not travel quite as much. So yeah, we'll see. I think it's kind of nice seeing them in a stadium again after all that time. So I'd like to think they'd have sorted that stuff out by now, but yeah, who knows? We'll find
Yeah.
out time, won't we?
What did you think of Simon Dawson's performance?
He must have been absolutely shitting himself. Let's face it. I mean, the idea of being given the gig by your mate Steve is one thing, but then actually going out and doing it is a completely different thing. Not to mention he's got massive shoes to fill, being that Nico McBrain's arguably the most beloved member of Iron Maiden, and
Yeah.
he's got just an unrepeatable style. So yeah, he must have been so nervous, and to give him that feel to start off the gig again must have been. I'm sure Steve was probably winding him up, going, right, if you can drum for this band, you've got to play this
I
song.
mean, I feel so sorry for him when you look at
Yeah,
that set list. They've
yeah,
given him one of the most difficult set lists you could
yeah.
ever give
It's
him.
it's ridiculous, and
I think going by the reaction I've seen online, I would say around about 90% is mostly positive.
mm-hmm.
I think it's fair enough to expect it, because Nico used to make mistakes all the time.
Yeah,
But he was still an incredible, very beloved drummer, and we're all sad to see him no longer behind the kit,
yeah,
playing for Maiden. We'll see what happens when they go back in the studio and record another album, if they do
mm,
record another album. But I think overall he did a very good job.
yeah,
Like you said, I mean, he's gone from playing clubs with British Lion to like huge arenas and stadiums, playing in front of, in some cases, literally tens of thousands of people.
yeah,
And people say like when you get on a big stage in an arena and a stadium, I mean, it takes a while to adjust to that.
yeah,
And I mean, don't get me wrong, he's clearly got some experience under his belt, but that's like a huge jump he has made.
man,
And so I think, like I just said, 90% has been positive, but there is like quite a vocal minority, the 10% who were saying he's not up to the job. Why did they pick him? They could have picked anybody else. And I think they're being very harsh, to be honest with you. It's
yeah,
going to take time. He's only done
yeah,
2 shows with them. Now,
yeah,
if it continues like this towards the end of the tour, then yeah, maybe he could be open to more criticisms. But you've got to give it time.
yeah,
I think you'll just get better and better.
yeah. So
Um, to be honest with you, by the way, I have no idea what Bruce was talking about when he did that, when he was filmed at that Q&A session about a month or two ago, when he said, "Oh, having Simon Dawson in the band, it's like having Clive Burr back." I
oh,
didn't
yeah,
get any Clive Burr vibes from Simon Dawson's playing at all.
no, same.
Um, if anything, I would argue he sounded closer to Nico than he did
Yeah,
Clive Burr, or
yeah,
it was sort of like the midway point between a Clive and a Nico. So I
yeah.
don't know what Bruce was talking about there. Um,
He's a lot. He's a recently, like in the last few years, there's a lot of hot air coming out of Bruce's mouth these days.
yes,
So
there is.
fair play to him. Like I love him. Like, I'm so happy for him that he beat cancer and
Hmm.
like almost vocally sounding just as good as he ever has, like for
Mm,
his age anyway, comparatively.
hmm.
But he comes out with some weird shit these days, man.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I tend to find that more he's just trying to big him up a bit more and be
You know,
like, oh,
maybe.
you've got nothing to worry about. He's great, blah blah blah. Which is fair enough. But yeah, like you say, especially like some of the Number of the Beast tracks that they played didn't sound anything like Clive Burr to me. To
No,
be
no,
honest with you,
no.
which is fair enough because at the end of the day, he probably, I think, if he did try and not copy their styles, but at least sound very much like them, then you get people saying, "Oh, he's just trying to be like the other two. He's not his own style." So he's in a bit of a rock and a hard place situation. Bless him. So
I think overall he did a very good job, though.
yeah, yeah, he's
Um,
solid enough. You know, he kept the tempo pretty well. Again, I think he may have gone over the top somewhat with the feels that he was putting in, but there were some pretty good ones as well. So he's just
yeah.
feeling
I
his.
mean, I think we need to bear in mind that obviously I'll give them a full critique, if you will, when we see them live at the in a few weeks, because the
Yeah,
only footage we've seen is through like video, cameras or iPhone footage and whatnot. So you can only tell so much when you're watching footage like that. But
yeah,
yeah, no, to be honest with you, my issue with Simon Dawson, and this may sound really petty, is nothing to do with his playing. Like I said, I think he's done a very good job and is doing a good job. But it's almost as if like Nico lent him his practice kit to use on stage. Like that drum kit looks tiny on that stage.
yeah,
Now I know he played a small kit with British Lion, but he's playing clubs, so he has to be
mm,
able to easily transport the kit around, which is fine. But Nico's drum kit, in my opinion, is one of the, well, it's not my opinion, I would state this as a fact. It's one of the greatest drum kits ever,
yeah,
both with how it sounds and how it aesthetically looks. Like you look at it and you recognize that kit belongs to Nico McBrain. It's
yeah,
iconic. And when you see it on stage, it was like the center point of the stage. The stage was built around it, and
yeah,
that kit was always in the middle. It was like it looked like the Iron Throne from Game of Thrones, the way the symbols, like a spider sort of, wrapped themselves around the drum kit and it was all angled and whatnot. Just a beast of a drum kit and always had incredible artwork on it as well.
mm,
Whereas Simon Dawson's, I mean, I find it hard to believe that Maiden couldn't phone up Sonar, whichever drum company uses, and says, listen, we want you to build a kit for our new drummer. And I'm not entirely sure how endorsements work, but it's Iron Maiden. I'm sure they can pull a few strings here and there.
maybe, yeah,
We got this new drummer. Can you build him a monster kit? Now he doesn't have to play all of it. Nico didn't really, towards the end of his run, didn't really play all of his kit.
true,
But to just go from that humongous kit to the one Simon Dawson's playing now, I just found it so jarring.
yeah.
And when you see it with everything else on stage, it looks tiny. It looks like Ringo Starr's kit on that stage compared to what came before. Am I being ridiculous
No, I
saying
know what
that?
you mean. I find it was just weird seeing someone actually behind the kit. Do you know what I mean? Because we're so used to only seeing like maybe the very top of Nico's head during like his performances. But I would say in Simon Jordan's defence, imagine if he was playing for Maiden. In defence of Simon Dawson, the thing is with Nico, he's had like many years to sort of organically build it up. If that makes sense, like as their stage shows have got bigger, so has his kit,
Hmm.
and I think that's just sort of become part of the Maiden consciousness live. Whereas Simon's only used to playing that kit, I guess.
I
So
mean, I'll say this: the kit that he has, he doesn't for Maiden. You don't need any more than that.
yeah,
Um, Nick, like I said earlier, Nico had this huge drum kit, but at the end of the day, like when you see him play kits when he's not on tour, they're tiny. They're
yeah,
usually like four-piece kits.
yeah,
Because that's sort of he grew up listening to like Joe Morello and all those jazz drummers,
mm-hmm.
so that's more his style of playing.
Yeah,
But that huge kit became so synonymous with his time with Maiden that you know it just he couldn't change it.
yeah,
He had to more or less keep it the same because it became part of the live show experience.
yeah. I mean, maybe part of him is like, well, again, it comes down to comparisons, and maybe he doesn't want to be compared in that way to Nico as well. Oh, look, he's got this massive drum kit because he's like, trying to replace Nico. Whereas I think at first he'll probably stick with this for a while. Maybe depending on how long he's going to be banned, depending on how long the band continue. I
But
think.
even Clive Burr, sorry to interrupt, even
But
Clive Burr had a massive drum kit, especially
yeah,
on the Beast tour. He had octobongs and everything on it.
yeah. I suppose it just comes down to personal style. Again, I don't know a huge amount of his playing history, but I would imagine if that's the kit that he uses, then that's what he's used to. Again, creatively, Nico's probably added more to it over the years for albums and stuff. But yeah, but I see what you're saying. It did look a bit weird because you could just see most of him, whereas Nico, yeah, like I say, you could barely see him behind all those cymbals and toms and stuff. So, but from what I could tell, it sounded fine. Like I thought the snare sounded pretty good from that footage.
Oh yeah, no, it sounded like it was really well mixed live.
Yeah,
For
so
as tiny as it looked, it sounded huge.
yeah, and even Bruce on stage at one point was like, "Oh look, you can see our new drummer this time. The other ones are too many drums covering their bloody faces." So
It's,
again,
it's like they knew. It's like they
yeah,
know.
yeah. So again, it's probably just a personal thing. As long as it sounds all right and he's playing the right stuff, then
Mm.
um, yeah, it's just going to take a while to get used to, especially if Nico never does come back. I mean, part of me thinks, oh, maybe this is just him taking a break, but it's like, nah, I don't know. I think,
No, I think he's done with live. He's like
yeah,
well into his 70s now, and
yeah.
isn't he? So
But yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
yeah. Okay. Well, no, we're going to see Maiden in a few weeks' time here in
Mhm.
London, and we'll more than likely film another video giving our reactions to the show. And yeah, really looking forward to it. Always good to
Yeah.
see Iron Maiden live.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I would have liked to have seen Metallica live
Nah,
until I saw the price of
segue.
the tickets today.
Uh,
So Metallica are on there, so they're bringing their no repeat show, no repeat setlist show, whatever it's called,
yeah.
and they're playing in London next July, I think. So I went to get O2 priority tickets,
Yeah.
and the only way, and I could be wrong, but I couldn't see any other option for it. You could only buy tickets for both shows at the same time. So if you're looking, so me and my wife were planning to go,
Mhm.
and for both of us to go, we'd have to get tickets for both nights because there's no option just to select one, and it would cost close to £400, which is crazy. And then
It's,
I thought, oh, that just might be the priority thing. I'll wait till general admissions and which was today, that being
yeah.
Friday the 30th, and I'll see if I can get tickets just for one show because they've got Gojira supporting them on one night and Pantera supporting them on the other night. So I'm kind of indifferent which day I go on
Mhm.
because I love both bands. And yeah, the same thing again. You can only buy tickets for both days.
Yeah. And I had to look just out of morbid curiosity because I thought, do I really? I mean, I like Metallica, I mean, one of my favorite bands, but I mean, I've seen them quite a few times, and I've seen pretty much every song. I mean, Maiden's slightly different for me because they are my favorite band, and I think Metallica probably have a little bit longer to go than
Oh,
Maiden do.
definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think every time Maiden play a gig, part of me thinks, oh, this could be the last one. Do you know what I mean? So, uh,
Mm-mm.
but yeah, I just looked at them all with curiosity because I thought, okay, I imagine they're probably going to be minimum of 100, which is understandable. Most of the big bands are charging that now. Oh, the single event tickets will be available July 25th or something. I'm like, well, hang on a minute. So you're telling me that you're going to release single night tickets that far away where people, you know, if they really want to see them, they're going to, well, they can, find a way of getting both nights. So you're going to have hardly any seats left for the single date
Yeah,
shows.
I imagine those tickets that will be made available in July, they will be you'll be all the way up in the gods.
Exactly. And then even just the single night tickets, I imagine, are going to be at least like 150 quid. And yeah, I don't know. I don't understand. Well, I do understand. It's just a way for them and the promoters to make a lot of money very quickly.
I just found it so disappointing because what I would have liked for them to do, if you want to buy tickets, because I get the whole gimmick with the whole, you're going to see two gigs, but we're not playing the same songs twice.
Yeah,
So if you get Master of Puppets on the first night, you're not going to get it the second night,
yeah,
which is in a clever concept if you want to do a package for both nights, but please give people the option the same day general admissions releases
yeah.
to buy single day tickets because I can't afford that.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
yeah, like I've got a son and everything I need to provide for him, and
yeah.
God knows, and bills are coming out, left, right, and coming at me left, right, and center. I
Everything's going
don't,
like
yeah,
cost of living.
yeah, like the cost of living, etc., which is hitting everywhere in the world at the moment. Like, I don't just have 400 quid to hand to go
No,
see Metallica live,
no,
and it irritated me so much that I don't think I'm going to bother seeing him on this tour.
I'm not. I
Yeah.
don't think I'm just out of principle. I'm just not. I'm just going to be like, nope, sorry.
Well, I
Like,
wasn't a huge fan of their last album anyway, 72
yeah,
Seasons.
and just feels like they're just dragging it out a little bit now. Like seeing some of their latest set lists again. I'm just like, seen that. Not really bothered
Mm,
about that one. So yeah, it is a shame, but this seems to be the way that they're doing it now. Also, another sort of drawback that I've found with the no repeat thing is okay. It can be great if you're going to both set shows, but if you're not, they could play something that you really wanted to see on one night and not the next night. So
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's going to piss some people off
Mm.
because you're like, oh, you played that instead of this. So yeah, I know it's down to opinions, but yeah, I just found that like, oh, really, Metallica, you're doing this now? But then they're the biggest band on the planet, so I guess they're sort of conforming to Ticketmaster and all that crap.
I mean, you say they're the biggest band on the planet. They're certainly the biggest metal band. Did you hear about the Black
Yeah,
Album going platinum for the 20th time?
20th.
Yeah.
Shit,
It's
right?
the highest selling metal album of all time by quite a wide margin. I
Yeah,
mean, that album really did change their lives. Like
yeah,
they could have retired off the back of that album and literally have not had to do anything ever again. It set them up for life.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, we talked about that when we did their ranking video, how
Mm,
it transcended genres, really. That album, didn't it? So it's no surprise to me that it's still doing as well as it is. So,
mm,
so yeah, it's not like they need the bloody money. So like,
mm. Yeah, I don't want to talk about that because I'm just going
yeah,
to get annoyed.
yeah,
So let's move. So let's move on.
yeah. Let's.
Um, Now, me and you were both gamers. We're into gaming. I wanted to talk a little bit about a bit random, Death Stranding, because the second game's coming out very soon. I think it's next month soon. And
That quick. Wow, that's come around fast.
yeah, I know. I was watching the trailers that Kojima put out for it
Mm,
a couple of days ago, and I was watching it on the big TV in my living room. And my
yeah,
wife was there. She was just doing some work, and then she looked up and was like, "Wow, is this a film?" I was like, "No, this is a game coming out." She was like, "Wow, it looks amazing."
yeah,
And the weird thing is with Death Stranding is that, and the same for you, when it first came out, I just completely and utterly dismissed it. I was one of those, I have no interest in playing a walking simulator.
yeah. Exactly.
But to give people context, Kojima wasn't in my good books at the time, mainly because as a massive fan of Metal Gear Solid, I felt the Phantom Pain, although the gameplay was really good, as a Metal Gear Solid game, I felt like it just completely missed the target. I thought the story was all over the place.
Yeah,
Um, I didn't like the way it wasn't because the story in the previous games have always been quite linear. You go from A to B, then a cutscene plays. Whereas, and I think that works very well for a game like Metal Gear Solid, where arguably the biggest selling point is the story and the
yeah,
characters. Whereas in this game, you can miss certain very important events that take place throughout the game because you happen to do one mission over the other, or you didn't go back to Mother Base after completing this obscure mission. Anyway, I'm not going to get a rant about the Phantom Pain.
we did that enough.
Yeah, to cut a long story short, I didn't enjoy it. I've softened
Yeah,
my
I was
opinion.
going to say. So what are you saying, Tom?
My opinion has softened on it a little bit over time, but overall, I don't consider it. It's like a good game, but not a good Metal Gear Solid game.
Yeah, agreed.
So I had no interest in playing Death Stranding. I thought the trailers were a little bit weird. I had no idea what it was about, and the reviews were a little bit lukewarm on it as well.
Mhm.
Some people, there were quite a few people that said it's a really great game, give it a go, but there are a lot who were like, "Yeah, it's a 6 out of 10, it's a 7 out of 10." So I
Yeah.
sort of largely dismissed it. But then, and I'll let you talk now, you just happened to start playing it, and then you started messaging me like you
Yeah,
usually do when you get into a new game.
yeah.
Um, you may want to give this a go. It's actually not as bad as you might enjoy it. What
Yeah.
made you sort of pick it up and want to play it?
So I picked it up when it was on offer on the PS Network because I was reluctant to pay full price because of exactly the reasons you said. You know, it didn't get very warm. I mean, it got okay reviews, but like from the gameplay that I'd seen leading up to that point, and yeah, and the trailers and the premise just seemed really odd. And obviously, you had the whole walking simulator jibes going
Mm.
for it. And yeah, previous experience, well, the last experience with Kojima, with Phantom Pain, as you said as well, was just, yeah, it was just didn't really sit well with me. Never really went back to Phantom Pain after playing it. I think I played it grand total of twice. Never,
Likewise.
yeah, and I just didn't. It didn't feel like a Metal Gear game to me, really. And yeah, so I put off playing it for the longest time. And then, yeah, like I say, I saw it. It was like part of the PS Plus, like free monthly games thing. I think it was.
Hmm.
So, okay, do you know what? Let's give it a go. I'm not losing anything by trying it.
Did you play
Free,
the director's cut, or is it just the standard
the
version?
standard one,
Hmm.
yeah. And I've seen like bits and pieces of the director's cut on YouTube and stuff. But yeah, I just thought, all right, let's give it a go. And I was very pleasantly surprised. I thought I was going to hate it, and I ended up really enjoying it. I mean, don't get me wrong; it's a very flawed game, as we'll go on to in a minute. The combat sucks,
Yeah, combat's terrible.
but again, I don't think it's really about that. It's about the story. It's about the exploration, and you know, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of weird, pretentious Kojima-isms scattered throughout this game, namely the cutscenes. But there's something about just delivering stuff that I found really, really relaxing. And you know, as you go on, and like the environment, I thought was really beautifully realized. I love the idea of people, you know, because it's an online game, kind of. You don't encounter anyone technically, but
That was another thing that put me off playing it because I don't like playing online.
yeah,
But when you explained it to me, you said it's online, but it isn't. Like you
yeah,
don't actually interact with anybody,
yeah,
but you'll see the structures that they build may appear in your game,
yeah,
and you can end up liking it. You know, like the whole idea about Death Stranding is to be very positive. You know, it's about helping each other out,
yeah.
helping your fellow players, aka your the other couriers out.
When I first saw those weird cutscenes of Norman Reedus walking on the beach naked with weird like blob monsters, I was like, oh god, Kojima, what are you doing? Yeah, so if I try to explain the story, I'll probably end up confusing myself somewhat. But the
There are plenty of videos out there you can watch.
yeah, exactly, and yeah, and then as the story progressed and as you got more into what the Death Stranding actually is, and I think the first cutscene where you encounter the BTs or the beach things, the basically the ghosts of the game. Let's just put it that way. For example,
Hmm.
I actually thought that was really tense, and I was like, oh, okay. So each time you get near a certain area where these things are, you have to basically hold your breath, and that's something that I've never really seen anywhere else in a video game, to be honest. So I thought mechanically that was quite cool. Yeah, as you get better at the game and as these things don't really bother you too much, they become more of a nuisance, really. Then, but at
Hmm.
the time, I was like, oh crap, here we go again. I was
Hmm.
genuinely quite scared, like as in like it was like quite tense and
Yeah, it's very intense. It's very tense. Yeah.
yeah. I really like the characters. I think Kojima kind of didn't go too far. I mean, there's some silly names in there, but I think they all had a decent part to play for what they were. And Norman Reedus, you know, I quite like him. I thought he did pretty well. I think the supporting characters are better,
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
but yeah, and I think
Who do you think was the best character?
oh, Clifford Unger. Come on, man.
Oh, what's he called? Mads Mikkelsen, is that his name?
Yeah, yeah, man.
Yeah,
Because
easily the best character in
oh
the
yeah,
game.
and you know he's not technically in it that much. It's mainly through I don't know how you describe it. Flashbacks, sort of, and then you get
Yeah,
to
yeah.
experience his side of events, and it kind of goes back and forth in time and stuff like that.
I
So
was glued to the screen whenever his character
yeah,
appeared. I thought he was amazing.
it kind of I know you're going to sort of naturally compare it to Metal Gear. I think he was probably the closest to the kind of like a Metal Gear character
Hmm.
than
Hmm.
everyone else. So that was good. Um, I thought the whole kind of the extinction entity thing
Hmm.
was okay in practice. I think it was a little bit
I
far.
thought she was the weakest character in the whole
Oh,
game.
she was yeah,
Whatever her name was.
um, Amelie, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
she was the extinction entity, wasn't
yeah,
she?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, by far the worst character in the game.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and she just dumps all this. So, I mean, my experience it was something similar to yours. I gave it a go and I wouldn't say I fell in love with it, but I enjoyed it.
yeah,
I took to it quite quickly. The moment that I knew I was going to enjoy the game was when your mother, Bridget,
yeah,
she dies. She's the president, and you've got to take her body to the incinerator
yeah,
because
yeah.
something to do when a corpse is dead for more than 48 hours, it ends up doesn't it turn necro? I think that's what it's called.
Yeah, so basically,
BTs come for it. It tracks
yeah, and
BT
it can basically like cause like a massive
explosion. They call
nuclear
them void outs.
explosion. You void
Yeah,
out the one
yeah. A void out big enough could, of certain void outs could blow up an entire city. They're really,
exactly.
really
So the whole
dangerous.
post-apocalyptic nature of the game is basically described or explained as that. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah, and you have to deliver her corpse. You literally carry it
Yeah,
on your back to the incinerator in like the first East Coast, I think the east side of the map, whatever it's
yeah,
called, like the tutorial section basically.
yeah,
And Kojima used a lot of licensed music in this game.
yes,
He used music from Woodkid,
yeah,
Silent Poets, and he used a lot from an artist called Low Raw, who
yeah,
unfortunately the main singer of that group is no longer
yeah. He
alive. He
passed
he
away.
died. Yeah, yeah, I had no
Yeah,
idea.
yeah,
And you're climbing up, so you're traveling with that body on your back, and then the camera pans out so you can just see how massive the world is.
yeah,
And then one of the Low Raw songs called Bones starts
yeah,
playing,
yeah,
and all the foliage drops down and the music takes over. I just thought it was incredibly well done, and I was
yeah,
like, okay, I think this is something. It was that, and when you come to the end of chapter 3, when you're going down, you can see like the facility you're meant to reach at the very end of chapter 3,
yeah,
and you're trekking down this very long cliff, this very steep cliff, and the Silent Poet song
yeah,
begins. Like those were the two moments like, okay, I'm on board with this. Because
yeah,
a lot of people say, like, oh, if you can get past like the first 10 or so hours, you'll end up really enjoying it. I didn't really have that. I kind of enjoyed it right from the get-go. If anything,
yeah,
the fatigue sort of settled in a little bit towards the end for me.
yeah,
But the beginning, like you said, they set up the BTs very well.
mm,
I found Fragile's character, the introduction to her, to be very well done. And yeah, just the idea that you're essentially just the whole story, the concept of the Death Stranding, or
yeah,
that it was like this event like occurred like the Big Bang. It's just something that happened, and that's just the way the world is now. About how the world of the living and the world of the dead have sort of merged into one. And
yeah,
this idea that when you die, your soul, your car or your ha, whatever it's called,
mhm,
travels through a beach, and if it can't reconnect with the body, then you become a BT. I think that's how it works.
yeah. It's
Uh,
very much it's kind of a cross between like The Walking Dead, but also like sort of like but a sci-fi kind of version of it. You know what I mean? It's
yeah, yeah.
that, which I quite like. I thought that was because I thought it was going to end up just being purely like supernatural, but it's like
Mm.
okay, you could kind of explain it with weird science. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, like
But
I quite
I found all the concepts amazing. I found it
yeah,
really interesting, and it's frankly, it's something that, coming from Kojima, it probably shouldn't surprise me that much, but I still thought it was all I was intrigued by it.
yeah,
And then the massive BT shows up, and then
yeah.
arguably the main antagonist, Higgs shows up, who's portrayed by Troy Baker, who absolutely nails it.
Oh, what a legend he is!
Yeah, yeah.
Baker. Like people say, oh, he's just in everything, but I'm like, and he's good. Do you know
Yeah,
what I
but
mean?
he's really, really good.
Yeah.
I thought he nailed his role as Higgs in this game. He's much better Higgs than he was as Ocelot, I'll say
Oh,
that.
yeah. He's probably
And
senior in this game for sure.
yeah, yeah. And I think the game's strength is when you're just playing the story. because
Yes.
you still do plenty of deliveries. Because arguably I've just said the main antagonist. Arguably, the main enemy in this game is actually the terrain itself. You know,
Yeah, and the vehicles and like the non-weapons that you have.
yeah, yeah,
But I
yeah,
mean, even they are kind of messed up. Like the grenades you throw are basically made of your blood and piss,
yeah.
essentially. So it's like, oh, okay, all right, Kojima, yeah,
It's
but
just
again,
weird little quirks like that which gives it
yeah,
that uniqueness that no other game has done, as far as I'm aware, they haven't done.
yeah,
And yeah, the story more or less carried me through from start to finish. And you later on meet characters like Hartman, the guy that is alive for 20 minutes, then he enters
uh,
cardiac arrest, and then he's revived again. I mean, what a poor, terrible life he has.
yeah. What way to
Uh,
live?
yeah, yeah, and Guillermo del Toro's in it as well as I can't remember the name of the cat. Can't remember the name
Deadman.
of his cat. Dead Man. Yeah, yeah, very
Well, funny
Kojima
enough,
sounding names.
is
They
his
sound like members of Foxhound.
yeah, it's his likeness, but it's not actually because I looked at it, I was like, is it actually him? But it's like no, they just used his likeness, but it's voiced by somebody else. So which I thought was interesting. Maybe he just likes being using his likeness, but didn't
Well,
really
he's
want.
quite tight with Kojima, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
and so
I've never actually heard Guillermo del Toro talk, so I mean,
no, yeah, me
yeah,
neither.
go figure.
Yeah,
So I mean, I thought it was him, but fine, it
yeah.
wasn't. And I should watch Pan's Labyrinth again. It's been a while since I've watched that film.
Yeah.
And but I felt like even though the story was very good, it kind of lost me in the ending when Amelie just dumps a load of exposition. That ending goes on for way too long, by the way.
Yeah, yeah,
Anything to do with her, I found borderline insufferable. There's this part
yeah,
where the credits are rolling and you're on, I think it's referred to as Sam's Beach,
yeah.
and no matter which direction you go in, it keeps resetting. So it's almost like a Groundhog Day type thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then after doing that for a few minutes, she shows up and just dumps a load of diatribe, just a load of like exposition.
And that's
Like,
after you think, oh, there's a load of exposition at the actual end of it,
yeah.
and then you get the whole thing with again, spoiler alert, but when you find out that Sam is Clifford Unger's son, and like the BB
See,
was,
that was interesting.
yeah, and you think, oh, BB, and as we haven't even mentioned BB yet, one of the stars of the show, or
Hmm.
Lou, yeah. We can talk about that, talk about them in a minute, but yeah, I just, Cartman kind of explained it. Really, he didn't
Hmm.
explain. Okay, this is extinction level event that happens every so often. It can't be stopped. It's an entity, and now it's in human form. This time, it's even worse because it's intelligent now. So yeah, so there's all that. I was like, okay, fine. And then yeah, like you say, they just go on and on and on. And this is that's why I say it's a flawed game because Kojima couldn't help himself. He loves to just give you exposition, no matter what game it is.
Mm.
You're just stuck there. And it's like, okay, we get it, we get it, we get it. Oh man, there's more.
But he
There's
just
more.
doesn't know when to draw a line under it.
No, no. So yeah, so I'm with you with that. I think that sort of pulls it back for me. But overall, I think it did what it set out to do. I would recommend it really if you like Kojima and if you like different styles of games because
Just one more thing to add because it
yeah,
is to do with the ending. Now, I know I just sort of crapped all over the ending or a big chunk of the ending, but the part where he has to take Lou to the incinerator at the
oh
end, Lou dies, but Sam's able to revive her through. I don't know. I can't remember how he
well,
does it. Like
there's those
these
other people.
baby BT, these
Yeah, and a
baby
part of me
BTs
thinks
appear.
maybe they're to do with Mama and Lockney and how they sort of kind of
Maybe.
repaid Sam for helping them go to the other side, if that makes sense. I don't know. But
Maybe. I mean, maybe it was explained in the game, but if it was, I completely missed it.
yeah,
But put that to one side. I mean, I've not, I've got a 14-month-old son. You've got a daughter.
yeah,
I mean, oh my God, I was sobbing.
yeah.
I'm not
Thought
afraid to
that
admit it.
but I was like, okay, different. It hits different when you're actually a parent. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
don't get me wrong, not like saying, oh, you can't enjoy it if you're not, because obviously you can. But like, yeah,
Mm,
there's certain things that wouldn't have hit the same before then. And I think
mm,
just spending most of it like nurturing this baby that just
mm.
sort of appeared out of nowhere one day, I think it was quite touching personally, and it yeah
Yeah.
another level to it that might not necessarily have done.
Yeah, of course. And I just thought it was so well done because they really do drag it out. You think,
Yeah,
Sam's so desperate to revive her.
yeah,
Um, excuse me. And then when it eventually happens, you sort of like breathe a sigh of relief.
Yeah, yeah,
And then there's that moment when they walk out of the incinerator into the rain, because rain it's called timefall in this game.
yeah. It's
If you
actually
get
great.
touched by Yeah, if you get touched by rain, it ages you very rapidly. So
Yeah,
you've got to stay out of the rain. It's hence the reason why, mankind is basically living underground at the moment.
mm,
And but when they walk out into the rain in that final scene and they're hugging each other, or he's holding Lou and they look into the camera, the rain isn't aging either of them,
yeah,
which is sort of, left, things open to fan theories,
yeah,
or how is that going to link into the second game?
yeah. Because that trailer kind of, the first one anyway, confused me, because in some parts he looks old, but then in other parts he looks the same as he did before. So unless they're going to do quite a lot of time jumps
Mm.
in one, because it's like, well, how are you going to essentially top like this extinction level event, which has been put on hold for now? But what else is there? Maybe there's something else out there that is even worse. Who knows? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you know what Kojima's like. He'll find a way of just like just kicking you in the nuts about something.
I will say this because I enjoyed it enough to get the platinum. At its peak is when you're playing the story, but when you go off to do side content, in my opinion, they're literally all fetch quests, quite
Yeah,
literally.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Fair
and
play to you for doing that, because I did a few of the side things, but the ones that kind of added to the story a little bit more. But when it came to like leveling up the facilities, I couldn't be bothered. I just wanted, as soon as I got hooked onto the story, I was like, right, I'm going to keep going with this now. But yeah, maybe I'll come back to it before the second one.
yeah, I mean, that was the most annoying one. I'll say that you have to get 5-star rating with all the facilities and all the preppers you find. There's like
Yeah,
30 plus of them.
yeah,
And there was also another one where you have to get so you're given a ranking at the end of every uh delivery you do, like
yeah.
the side quest version of the deliveries. And you have to get 20 in each category. Um a Legend of Legends ranking, so you have to play the game on hard mode and do the premium
Right.
delivery. That, funnily enough, wasn't that difficult to do, because by the time you get to that point in the game, like post game, all the roads are more or less built and you've more or less got a zip line network in
Yeah,
place.
yeah,
So it is quite easy to do those. But for me, the grind was the facilities. I mean, you've got
yeah.
to read certain you've got to read emails at certain points, you've got to rest in your room at certain points. It just became a pain in the ass. It was very convoluted.
You've got to read all the interviews as well, like
Yeah, yeah. I didn't
ones
read
you don't
any of them.
care about. Yeah, yeah.
I read like the first few.
Yeah, that's it. I just read the ones that were like pertinent to the story, but otherwise I was like, I don't really care.
Yeah, yeah.
Just want to get really. I know.
Yeah. But no, overall, I really enjoyed Death Stranding. I played the director's cut version.
Mhm.
Um, the question I should ask myself, will I play the second one? Probably not for a while, but I definitely will pick it up at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, if I had to give it a grade, I'd probably give it a 7 out of 10. So it's a well above average. It's a good game. I don't think it's a masterpiece like some people are trying to make out that it is at the moment,
Oh, no,
but
no.
I think it's a misunderstood game.
Yeah, it's a flawed gem, is what I would say. I'd give it. I'd give it some time before I went back to play it again, but I'd probably
Mm,
go back and play it again, just because there's obviously things that you miss, because Kojima's like that. He'll put in things that you can only really see the second time
yeah.
you play it. So
If
yeah,
you had a PS5, would
yeah,
you pick up the second one?
yeah, sure. I'd probably again. It's just a matter. It's just time and money with that at the
Yeah,
moment.
yeah.
So, but I think if I was, I'd probably that would be probably the first game I would get for it.
This also leads us quite nicely into the next topic I want to talk to. It is gaming related. The Witcher 3 is celebrating its 10th anniversary. One of my personal favorite games of all time. I'm
Yeah,
talking like top 10 favorite game of all time. Um, and you've been playing it again. You haven't played it in a while.
yeah. No, so I noticed that it was the 10th anniversary. I think it's about a week ago now. I think they announced it was like the 10th anniversary, and I was like, do you know what? It's such a timeless game. It's great. I can't believe it's 10 years old already, man.
Oh
That's
my God.
scary.
Yeah.
That's really scary. So I thought, do you know what? It's been long enough. It's kind of like the way I see like games like Skyrim. I'll leave it for a long time, come back, pick it up, and it's like I've never left it.
Hmm.
And yeah, and I decided to play it on. I've always played it on like one of the easier difficulties, just because I'm a loser like that, and I like to enjoy my games. But I thought, no, I'll play it on not quite Death March yet, but I've got it on the one just below that, just to give it a bit more of a
Oh,
challenge.
really? You're playing it on what, like like
Blood,
hard mode,
Blood and
basically.
Bones, I think it's called.
Okay.
Yeah. To be honest with you, it's well, not yet anyway. I haven't found it really hard. Like I've basically beat enemies that I'm supposed to beat, and then ones that are a few levels up are a bit of a challenge. But I think because I recently delved into Elden Ring, I don't really see it that difficult, to be honest. So yeah, and yeah, I've fallen in love with it all over again. I got the Game of the Year edition because I did have just the standard one when it first came out.
Oh, so you got the DLC as well?
Yeah, so I have played the DLC before, but not
Sean,
not
Sean.
for the years and years. So
Yeah, I
when I first
mean,
got the game,
sorry to interrupt. The
that's
DLC in that game is phenomenal.
oh,
The
it's,
best DLC I have ever played.
they're like games in themselves, really, aren't they? To be honest, and
Well, one of them in particular is more like an expansion pack than a DLC.
oh yeah, definitely.
That being Blood and Wine. But yeah,
Yeah.
carry on.
So yeah, so when I first got the game, I just got the normal version, and then as they released the DLC, I added it on as it went on. And then something I think I needed to clear space on the PS4, so I just sort of I played it a couple of times, deleted it, freed up some space, and then when I went to sort of go to play it again, I was like, oh crap, I don't have the DLC for this. I just want to play the DLC now, especially for the 10-year anniversary, etc. And then I saw it was on offer because of the 10-year anniversary. It was like for 2 days only. It was only like I don't know, £8,
Bargain.
down from like 35, which I don't know, dollars wise,
Bargain.
dollars, something like that, maybe something even less. I thought, you know what? I download that. It came with every little bit of like extra armor, like the alternative looks that the characters can have, like Tricia for Ciri, all that sort of stuff. And at first, I was just going to go in and start Hearts of Stone straight from the word go. And then as I started, I thought, actually, do you know what? I'm playing this on a harder difficulty. I want to get used to it first. And there's something weird about starting a DLC so late on. With
I know
like,
what you
you
mean.
have to get level 32, and it's like a lot of the game has passed. So I thought, do you know what? I'm going to wait and then just start the game from the beginning again. And I've only just after probably 2 days, 3 days of playing, I've only just left Felon because I wanted to properly go through it. Because when I first played it, I left all the Witcher contracts till like the end, to like the post game when I was leveled up, and I thought, no, do you know what? I'm going to try and like get into the spirit of a Witcher and try and clear them as I can go on.
It is actually better to do those earlier because there a lot of the missions are level based.
Yeah,
So if you like tackle like a contract
yeah,
and let's say you're over leveled, you
yeah,
don't really get much experience for completing it. But
true.
if you're more or less in the ballpark or under leveled and you manage to pull it off, you get a ton of experience for it.
Yeah,
So doing it that way is the better way of doing it.
yeah. And so I've been doing it that way, which I've never really done before. So it's like playing it kind of new
Mm.
after all this time. And I've already made a couple of mess ups in terms of the storyline because, like, especially with the Bloody Baron, like but this the beauty of it because you never quite know what's going to happen with the choices that you make. There's never cut and dry. There's always like almost like a drawback
Mm.
as well as a good result to come out of it. So that's great, and the graphics still hold up to this day for me. Even I'm just still playing the PS4 version again. I know they did like an HD remake, not remake. That's a dirty word at the moment.
They sort of remastered it
Yeah,
a little
so
bit,
I'll
gave it a
be
touch up.
find out what that's like eventually when I do.
See, the thing is, you said like it still looks good to this day because I've seen a lot of clips circulating online of people saying like The Witcher 3 still looks so good and it's 10 years old. They're acting as if like the PlayStation 4 was like a toaster
Yeah,
that could barely
yeah,
run games. It's like it was actually an incredibly powerful console.
yeah.
And in terms of graphics, it's not a huge step down, although I should say the PS5 is not a huge step up from the PlayStation 4 in terms of graphics.
And the fact that I'm now playing it on a harder difficulty is more a fun challenge. So, for example, when I meditate now, it only replenishes my potions, doesn't replenish health. So I've got to prepare
Mm.
more for each fight, which
So
I
it's making you dive deeper into the mechanics then.
exactly, which I
Mm.
kind of just sort of breezed through a little bit in
Mhm.
previous playthroughs. So I'm getting more of an appreciation about what a Witcher actually has to do.
Mhm.
And yeah, and that's great. Obviously, like I'm saving kind of more often because you kind of need to do that. You
Hmm.
don't want to be caught short and be like, oh god, I've got all the way back there. And yeah, so I'm finding myself having to make sure that I get when I'm looting. Hopefully, I'm finding some dwarven spirit somewhere so it can replenish some strong alcohol.
Have you
Uh,
got like super into like alchemy and crafting and
I'm
whatnot?
I'm really I'm getting into that, yeah, because now I'm also paying attention to like different ingredients that
Hmm.
you need for even just sort of random ones. I'm also giving Gwent more of a go this time as well because all the other times I've played it, I've just never really bothered. Like after that first game where you're in White Orchard, I lost the first game. I was like, I can't be asked for this anymore. But actually now I've kind of grasped it, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I really need to get some better cards. So I've won a few games, but like the ones where it comes up with like a gold indicator, which gives you a special card. I haven't won any yet because my hand is rubbish. So
Yeah.
when you're looking for just some downtime between like fighting all these monsters, and yeah, sometimes you think, oh, do you know what? I just fancy a few game of cards. And the way that Geralt just says it goes, feel like a few games of cards. Just the way that he says that, I'm like, man, it's brilliant. I love it.
That's become
So
a bit of a meme now, hasn't it?
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, no, I love The Witcher 3. I love more or less everything about it, so it might be easier if I just point out the one thing that I would if I had to nitpick on anything. I think the weakest part of it, funnily enough, is the main story. The whole tracking down Ciri and the Wild Hunt. I found
Yeah,
them so uninteresting,
yeah,
but everything around it, like the Bloody Baron, the Witches of Crookback Bog,
yeah,
the quests you go on in Novigrad and
yeah.
Skellige, and then the DLC, I just think's incredible.
Beautiful.
And the side missions aren't just your standard take this here
But
and then bring that back here, and you'll get an item that you're never ever going to use. Like every Witcher contract in itself is almost like a little side mission, not
yeah,
side quest, like it feels like it's part of a story. There's like a
like
story
both.
built around it.
Yeah,
So it makes everyone worth playing and
yeah,
pursuing. And yeah, graphically, I mean, it's only 10 years old, but graphically it still looks incredible.
yeah.
Especially since they've given it a bit of a texture update as well. It
Mhm.
still looks visually very impressive. Yeah, I absolutely love it.
I'm loving it. I'm taking my time with it as well. I want to relish like every mission, every little part of it this time around.
No, no, enjoy it, mate. It's just a fantastic game.
Yeah,
And if anyone is even remotely interested in playing it, give it a go. You're doing yourself a disservice not playing it. One of the greatest video games ever made.
oh,
I
yeah.
consider it. It came out in 2014. I consider that the game of that decade. It
Yeah,
was that it's that good. I
it
hold
is.
it in really
Yeah,
high regard.
yeah. So fair play to CD Project Red. I mean, I haven't played Cyberpunk, so I know there was a bit of weirdness going on with that, but yeah, I still think it's their
Yeah,
crown.
they messed up the launch,
Yeah,
but now apparently a game. It's a must play.
right. Yeah, fair enough. So,
Yeah,
but
which I'll give a go at some point as
yeah,
well. One more thing I'd like to touch on before we wrap up.
cool.
I
Yeah,
used to be an avid wrestling fan, but not so much anymore. Um, Anything that I should be checking out anytime soon, Sean, with WWE? I know, let me just give you an update of where I am. I know John Cena has turned heel,
yeah.
and I know everybody loved the heel turn in terms of like when he first turned heel. From what I've gathered, it's sort of been a bit of a disappointment since then.
Mm.
I've heard nobody liked the finish of WrestleMania, and everybody's really annoyed with The Rock. That's kind of what I've gathered.
You've summed it up very well, mate. To be honest, you're not really missing much. I mean, there's a new faction now with Seth Rollins. He's got Bron Breakker and now Bronson Reed as part of this kind of like new with Paul Heyman. So end of WrestleMania, you had the whole thing.
I have no idea who Bronson Reed is. I know who Bron Breakker is. I've heard
Yeah,
of him.
and he's just Bronson Reed. He's just a big meaty Australian dude, and he
Does he have long hair?
longish. He looks like a Samoan, but he's not a Samoan. If that makes sense.
Okay, I
He was,
think I know. Does he have a beard as well?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I know who he is. I know who he is.
yeah. And he was the one that last year he just randomly turned up and gave Seth Rollins like six like tsunami
Yeah,
basically.
I know who he is now. Yeah.
Yeah. and then he recently just returned because he injured himself at War Games in November last year. So he was out for like months, and then he recently just turned back up. And you thought, oh, he was going to come and attack Seth Rollins, but then he ended up shaking his hand and then attacked CM Punk and Sami Zayn. So that's kind of the most interesting thing on Raw at the moment. There's a whole load of things with the Judgment Day that I just don't care about now. I think they're dragging it on far too long. I suppose kind of a newsworthy thing is, which again The Rock's probably embarrassed about now, is that a few months ago he announced that New Orleans was going to host WrestleMania next year. Now they're not, and it's going back to Las Vegas again. So, and apparently TKO want to host WrestleMania there every year now. They don't want it anywhere else because
Really?
a load of wonga. So
Mm.
that's been kind of controversial because people are like, hang on a minute, what you were talking about doing like a WrestleMania in London or overseas, something like that, and now they're thinking, oh, actually no, we're just going to have it in the same place every year because TKO and WWE is just all about money, which it's a business, fair enough. But I think they lost a lot of their steam at the end of WrestleMania last year, WrestleMania 40, because with the bloodline and Roman
Well,
Reigns.
they were clearly very lucky with that storyline
Yeah,
because it's the definition of all the stars aligning for them.
exactly. So that kind of was an organic
Mm.
change that worked out for the best in the end, which The Rock obviously claimed all the credit for, as he does. And
Dwayne needs to stop drinking tequila and going
oh man,
on doing
he's
interviews.
the right pisshead these days. Like he's literally every interview, he's just like on the tequila, man. I'm like, oh, fair play. He's obviously on it, having his midlife crisis now. So he's
Yeah.
like, sorry,
Pretending he's never been to In-N-Out Burger in
yeah,
America, where it's like, dude, you were posting about it a few weeks ago. You clearly
yeah,
were there before.
yeah.
Like,
He did that weird thing like a few months ago. He went on to NXT and he was clearly sozzled. Like it was
mhm.
probably didn't know what he was talking about. Oh, The Rock's 20 steps ahead. Blah.
Yeah.
And yeah, this whole
Shall
like
shall I tell you the moment Dwayne lost me?
go for
And
it.
it wasn't to do with the whole DC takeover thing. I mean, it's business. That's just how it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
But the moment where he lost me is where he appeared on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Oh my god.
And it was mind you, Joe Rogan wasn't really
Joe
great.
Rogan sort of talked at him for quite a long time
Yeah, yeah.
there.
But
But
my
yeah,
God, Dwayne had literally nothing to say. Like he's on there for like nearly 2 hours, and about 10 minutes of it was devoted to wrestling.
yeah. And
It's like
weird
I'm
thing
sure The
about him.
Rock has some stories to tell, like of all the matches he had with,
Yeah,
Stone Cold Steve Austin and
yeah,
Triple H and all of that. And I mean, I know this has all been documented, but it'd be great to really sit down and talk about it in like that podcast format.
yeah.
And then at one point he started talking about how he was planning to fight in Pride, and everyone was like, "What are you on about? That didn't happen at all."
No, no,
He's morphing into Hulk Hogan.
yeah. And I don't know, man. I think you said this before. He literally everything he does is just an advert for something.
Yeah, yeah.
Like either his
You can
tequila,
tell he's been trained to speak that way.
corporate. Yeah, no,
Very corporate. He's always trying to sell you something. It doesn't
yeah,
come across as organic at all.
no. And then things like the final. Don't get me wrong, the final boss character was great, and I think it was much needed because I don't think anyone wanted to see babyface Rock go against heel Roman Reigns. So for me, I think that was one of the best things that he ever did. So
Yeah.
I give him credit for that. I think that was great.
Hmm.
But then as the
Probably
year,
closer to who he is in real life,
well, yeah,
funnily enough.
definitely is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. And then, but then then he comes in randomly and says, he basically he, he's almost becoming the one person that he's taken over from, which is Vince McMahon, the guy who would just randomly turn up and be like, there'd be a set like storyline for each of the matches going through the night, and then he'd turn up half an hour before the show and be like, nah, that doesn't work for me, brother. We're going to change it. That's what he's doing now.
Mm,
Like, he just
mm.
turns up and is like, oh, whatever Dwayne wants, Dwayne gets because he's on the board, and it's like, dude, just stay away. Really, honestly, like
Yeah.
I respect him for what he did in his career in the early days. He was one of he was
He
one of,
was the reason I got into wrestling.
exactly, and one of the best ever talkers on the mic. Just and fair play to him.
I also think he's quite underrated in the ring as well.
Yeah,
I thought he was really good at psychology in the
yeah,
ring.
So
Don't get me
any,
wrong, he's no like Bret Hart, but
oh yeah,
he knows how to tell a story in the ring.
yeah, and yeah, like I said, like just
Well, knew how to anyway.
yeah, amazing.
Actually, no, that's being that's not fair of me. I thought he did a great job at at the WrestleMania he last wrestled at.
Yeah,
I thought he was hilarious, to be
yeah, he was
honest with
great. Yeah, and I like to be fair. Okay, you know, it's a tag match, so Roman
you.
was pretty much doing most of the legwork in that
The
match.
way he sold that gore, that excuse me, that spear he took from Roman Reigns. I mean, he was acting as if like he'd just been severed in half.
Yeah, it's like he just wants to, you know, how am I going to sell this guy as even though
Yeah.
he is? I'll just make it look like I've been run over by a truck. So, but I mean, he's always been like that. To be fair, you know,
Mm.
he sold like for Stone Cold so long, like the ridiculous stunners that he used to take.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, that's why I respect him as a worker, but as a person now, no, I just don't really. Yeah, I don't know, man. He's just gone way too Hollywood for my liking, which obviously was going to happen. But yeah, it's still sad, you know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, at least Cena's doing like a farewell tour. Me and you have sort of been following Cena's career on and off since he made his debut.
Yeah,
And for around about 99% of his career since his debut, he's been a babyface. He was the face of the company.
yeah,
You know, you got your Hulk Hogan, your Austin, your Cena, and your Roman Reigns, you know, and now it's like Cody Rhodes, etc.
yeah,
But that's a conversation for another day.
yeah,
But Cena was the face of the company for a very long period of time. And it was getting to the point like he's never going to turn heel. Let's just accept it for what it
mm,
is. But when they decided to pull the plug and turn him heel, I was thinking, great, this is actually interesting. Let's see, because you know, Cena's wanted to turn heel for ages. You just know he has.
yeah. Vince always stopped it as well. Like the perfect round, like the first time he lost to The Rock, and he was like, I had the gear, I had the music,
Mm,
I was ready for it, and then Vince like decided at the last minute, no, you're making us too much money. You're
mm,
making too many Make a Wish foundations. Like we can't do it. So that would have been the perfect time to do it.
mm. Yeah, sucks as a fan, but as a
Yeah.
business, once again, you get it.
Mm.
But um, but now that they've finally done it, and it's like, what you know, what are they going to do with this now? This has become very interesting.
Yeah.
It's been to say it's been a letdown is an understatement. Like
Yeah.
I stopped following it because I actually was tuning in to see what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Then he had the promo after Raw, and it was just very much a "you people" promo.
Yeah. 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 Exactly.
And then he appeared on SmackDown, and once again it was another "you people" promo.
Yeah.
And then he was getting laid out by Cody Rhodes every week leading into Mania. So I was like, well, I guess that's just told me who's going to win the WrestleMania match. And then I didn't watch WrestleMania, but I heard what happened, and that ending sounded diabolical.
Oh, it sucked, mate. It was so
Yeah. Yeah. So, but it's like, what? Where do they go now? I mean, I don't even know what's going on at the moment.
well. The
Is
weird
Cody
thing
Rhodes back?
he's just come out. The weird thing is they're already teasing Cena going back to being babyface again because clearly Cena's heart is just not in it.
Hmm.
You can just tell it feels forced. It feels contrived. It's just because
Well, can you blame him because it's
no.
the in terms of storytelling, it's crap.
But the thing is they could have made it work in a way where, and again this goes back to Dwayne. He was the whole kind of I'll sell your wanting Cody Rhodes to sell his soul, and then you think, oh, is he going to do it? And obviously not. He tells The Rock to go f himself, and then Cena is the one, and it's like, okay, right, what's going to happen? Why did he sell his soul to The Rock? Why
I,
John Cena?
I was expecting like another two-man power trip.
Exactly, and you could be like, look, we're this is the way it was always going to go. And it was almost like he could have been like The Rock's kind of like he's a soulless husk, because he's basically done everything for him. You know what I mean? But no,
The way they stood there together in the
yeah,
ring, like Ornstein and Smog
yeah,
from Dark Souls.
yeah,
I was a bit like, what are they gonna do with this?
yeah.
You know?
But you know how you can tell it was all just a last minute decisions because clearly they made all this merch for John Cena's farewell tour. So the way around that is, well, I just won't change anything about myself other
Mhm.
than "Oh, you people, you people." When the reality is, if he had just gone completely different, changed the look, changed everything, that would have been kind of more believable because it's like, oh, you're just not the same person because the
Mm,
Rock's got this hold over you, and eventually you're going to see the error of your ways, and it's going to be like Cody's going to show you it, and then you're going to tell the Rock to f himself yourself. But I
mm,
could have kind of seen that, but no, it's just like the Rock was on the Pat McAfee show a few weeks ago, and he's saying some weird stuff like, "Oh no, I think yeah, we wanted to it was like a Cody thing that I'm stepping back from that. This is all about Cena and Cody now. I've got nothing to do with it." It's just kind of like, no, you turned up one day, pissed out of your head, thinking, "Oh, I'm just gonna like insert myself into this storyline," and then decided, "I don't want anything to do with it now." So Triple H, bless him, had to kind of come up with a plan B of like, right, Cena, just go out there, no like fanfare, and just say, "Oh, it was the people's fault. You're in a toxic relationship for all this time."
yeah.
Makes no sense because in recent years, he's the most beloved that he's ever been.
Yeah, I know.
Like the time where he was getting these 50-50 reactions would have been the time to do it, when he was in
Well,
that.
after when he first lost to The Rock.
Yeah. And the whole, when, Kane was doing the whole embrace the hate, Cena sucks and all this sort of stuff.
Hmm.
That would have been the time to do it. Hell, even, you know, rest in peace when he was in his first feud with Bray Wyatt and Bray Wyatt was tempting him to use the chair, that would have been the time to do it as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Not now when literally everyone loves you and there's no reason for you to be like, oh, screw you, you're all like toxic. It's like, oh, I don't know, man. I think now they're probably realizing it. And I think he realizes it. No, this was a mistake. This was
Yeah, no, Cena's not an idiot. He's pretty
no,
good at reading the crowd. I mean, he'd have to be dumb not to notice it.
yeah.
So, maybe they could do a double turn, turn Cody heel and turn Cena babyface.
Well, I think that
I don't think they'll do that, by the way. I think they're
no,
happy to keep Cody as. I think Cody wants to stay a face,
yeah, and I think
from what I've gathered.
well, the weird thing is, well, unless the Rock pulls rank because he seems to be obsessed with, in that McAfee interview, he was like, oh yeah, no, Cody will turn heel and he'll be an amazing heel.
But
And
Rock and Cody do have unfinished business.
yeah, well, yeah, but is it unfinished?
Apparently not now.
Do you know what?
Of course it is. The Rock beat him. He pinned him.
Yeah, but then on the episode where they did the whole Netflix debut, he's playing himself and he's like, oh yeah, let's have some tequila together, only to then change it again and be like, you're gonna sell your soul to me, and then be like, oh, I've got nothing to do with this, mate. It's very erratic.
I mean, I'm not a diehard Cody fan, but from what I gather, he's quite a merch mover.
Yeah,
He's one of the highest merch sellers.
yeah,
He I think he can pull off the babyface pretty well. Only turn him when he's
yeah,
more or less getting, maybe, that 50-50 reaction or getting outright rejected by the
yeah.
fans. Whereas right now, I would say the vast majority are, they're happy to see him.
I'd give him a little bit more of an edge though, because he's
Mm,
very, very much a white meat baby face, and I think
yeah,
fair play if that's working. But yeah, I want to see a little bit
I know
more
what you mean.
of a bastard sort of nature to him because of all this crap he's gone through, So,
Yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I think at the moment it's kind of just hit a low. I mean, I need to go and watch NXT because that's where all the really good stuff's happening in terms of like the wrestling and stuff like that. And
Oh my
Daniel,
God, I haven't watched NXT since they had the black and gold belt.
back when it was at his best, but there's some good
Yeah.
stuff happening there. I need to catch up with it. The sooner, and I think Cena probably feels as well. The sooner he can go back to being a babyface, the better. Because let's face it,
Can you believe we're saying that?
yeah,
Go back to being a baby face.
I know. Yeah, I think he just can't do it. He just can't do it. The thing is, if he was just a bit more natural and was just a bit of a dick, but no, he's just being that kind of archetypal. You people, this. I'm speaking slower. Whereas I think if he was a bit more himself, it
Hmm.
probably would work a bit more. But yeah, hey ho.
All right then, Sean. Yeah, I'm happy to wrap that up now. We've been talking for well over an hour and a half now.
Cool, man.
Thank you everybody for watching. We really hope you enjoyed the first podcast we've just recorded here today. We'll be doing these probably once a month going forward, just
Yeah,
discussing anything in the pop culture news, whether it be wrestling or music, etc. If anybody wants to leave any feedback in the comments section, we're always happy to hear what people have to say. If there's anything in particular you want us to touch upon or for us to
Yeah.
give our opinion on, please let us know. We're always happy to hear what you have to say. Sean, you happy to leave it there?
Yeah, just yeah, thanks for checking us out. And like Tom was saying, if you have any requests for stuff that you want us to rank or talk about, then yeah, feel free to leave a comment.
Thank you, everybody. Have a very good day.